So one of the big benefits of using a foam roller is it aids with recovery. So especially after you've had a bout of exercise, you've gone for a hike, you've done something physical and your muscles are sore. And that's a good thing sometimes. We don't need them to be sore to be able to grow and to get stronger and to build the capacity, but it often is going to be a repercussion. And our body has to try to deal with a bunch of things, and a big part of it is circulation. And so we can do a bunch of things for ourselves to help with that. One is just moving, gentle movement. Breathing is also another piece of this. We kind of really get that oxygen into our body, and also at the same time, hopefully help our nervous system start to relax. And so we can combine that as in our perspective that we approach this tool. But the practice of doing it ourselves is a big part of it is just circulatory, helping to create blood flow to muscles, especially muscles that are maybe, again, they've been worked a lot, or they're maybe stiff and tight. They've been underused, but they feel really stiff and tight. And so this is a good way to start that process of starting to kind of massage that tissue and hopefully create a little bit more blood flow and flexibility and ease some of the discomfort of that muscle soreness.
So this first version is rolling your quadriceps, the muscles in the front of your thighs. And the name quads means four. So there's like four muscles that we're rolling. So changing the angle of your thigh bones, turning your kind of the toes and the knees out and in, can help you to roll along the lines. We're rolling vertical up our legs for most of these exercises, for most of these rolls that we're doing. And you can see now I've rolled to the side of the leg. I'm more on the front, the quad, but then as you roll to the side, you're going to find your IT band. And that's another place we can work at rolling. And throughout this whole process, just remember to breathe. Make sure that as you're doing this, you're not trying to beat yourself up. You're trying to relax the nervous system. It's going to be uncomfortable with some of the muscles, but we're trying to help them not tense and fight up, especially the ones that aren't involved in necessarily the roll itself. So now I'm rolling back to my front. And usually I'm using that top leg to give me support. You can load both legs to make it a little bit more intense if you find that this becomes too easy. And then you can also get up into the front of the hip. On the inside of the thigh bone, there's some attachment points for your hip flexor as well as some other muscles. And so this is a place where we can start to find a little bit of that attachment point, right where the front of the thigh kind of attaches in towards the hip. I have the other knee up and wide to help to just create some of that space and also just kind of work on the angle that I'm trying to approach of getting that hip in there. And really in the end, you can play this by ear and kind of feel your body out and do it as quickly or as maybe hold a position, but then changing the angle. So changing the angle of the roller, in this case, I brought it kind of parallel to my spine and then I moved it on a little bit of an angle. Now I'm getting through that whole inner line of the leg, the adductors, the inner thigh muscles. And you can have the leg straight, you can have the knee slightly bent in the air, like I'm doing now, or you could have the foot on the floor and be moving back and forth a little bit so the knee bends and extends to some of that range of motion. And all of this just kind of hits different muscles and different kind of angles, but we're rolling kind of from the inside of the pelvis to the inside of the knee. And so just changing that angle, but also having the feet a little bit wider. So you're in a little bit of a split stance. And then again, you can rest the foot on the floor and then bend and extend the knee a little bit. And all of this is to work that whole inner line of the leg. It's an important group of kind of muscles that help to stabilize our knee, stabilize our hip, and create support towards our midline. But for a lot of us, they're tight. Sometimes it's because they're overused, sometimes it's underused. And then shifting over to the back of the legs, we've got the hamstrings through the back. I tend to like to move the roller over to one side so that there's kind of room on the other side to have the foot to support you. We're spreading the shoulder blades, trying to lift the whole spine away from the floor, just a little bit of support through there so that we're not just in the neck. But then rolling through that whole back of the leg. Often with this one, I use maybe a different tool, sometimes even a double lacrosse ball or a orb ball. But you can also kind of stack legs and use both legs at the same time. It's just a little more shoulder, and same thing with the angle. So our hamstrings are not one muscle either. There are 3 different muscles in the back of the leg. So by changing the angle, we can kind of find those different muscles and roll through them, try to create some of that circulation. Again, check back in with your breathing, making sure you're breathing as you're doing this. And that back of the upper leg is going to be kind of a good place for a lot of us, but then the lower leg, the calves, is often a big place. And we've got several muscles that we're working, so same idea. We can change that angle. We can have the thigh bone turned in a little bit, outward a little bit, and we can even turn the toes at points all the way away from us. And we go through the side of the shin. So you don't want to necessarily get right on the shin bone, but like just to the side of it, to kind of that outside edge of our shin. And we can change our whole body orientation sometimes to find a different angle. But now we're just trying to do front and back and the side of the lower legs. And again, you can pause and roll back and forth, again, adding a little bit of knee range of motion there. And then switching sides, same idea. And so there's lots of different ways to use all of these practices, and there's lots of different angles we can get at. A big piece of this is to be able to, one, breathe as you're doing it, and just create some different lines. You don't need to do 60 minutes of this. Take a small little bit and do it every day and work into some of these areas. And ideally, you follow this up with some movement as well, so that it's not just doing the rolling, but you're doing some stretches, you're doing some movement to try to help yourself expand the range of motion of some of these joints and lengthen and shorten some of these muscles. And so the last version here, this is just a little bit more of a shin version. So this whole series is a hip and leg series. There's other versions we can do for our upper body, for our shoulders, our lats, our pecs, as well as our spine, our feet, our hands, and the rest of our body. We can find different tools like balls, lacrosse balls, double balls. But in the end, it's a recovery tool meant to help to relax the nervous system, to help aid with circulation. So try to integrate just a little bit of it every day.
And think of it as a tool to start to use in just little bits. You don't need to be doing a full 60 minutes of this every day by any means. They start with like 1 minute. You set a time for you're going to do 1 minute every day. You set it at a specific time, a specific place. Maybe you're watching TV and doing it. And then just try to breathe. Do kind of inhales that might be 2-3 seconds long, and then try to delay that exhale, make it a little bit longer. And make the purpose of that trying to help calm the nervous system down. We don't want everything to be clenching up. We want to be able to relax into this practice as we're doing it. So give it a try. And if you can start to build a small little bit like that every day, you'll start to see some benefits. You just want to start to find how to use it as a jump board to then move, get your body moving.
Please like, subscribe, and share.